The history of Hillside Covenant Church goes back to the year 1945 and to the vision of one man, the Reverend Clifford L. Nixon. Just arrived from Michigan, Pastor Nixon saw the need for a covenant church in his new community, Lafayette. With the help of his current church, Oakland Mission Covenant, Reverend Nixon and others from the Oakland Church began canvassing the area. And on October 13, 1945, they held their first Sunday school in a rented room in Lafayette's Veterans Memorial Building. 10 people came, 5 teachers awaited them. Over the next year and a half, the church grew, swelling to 30 members. And in the summer of 1947, the Lafayette Mission Covenant Church was born. The news came in a letter from the president of the Evangelical Mission Covenant Church of America, the Reverend Theodore W. Anderson.
By the unanimous vote of the Covenant Annual Conference, held week before last in Seattle, Washington, the Mission Covenant Church of Lafayette was received into full membership in the Mission Covenant. I am happy to transmit this news to you.
Within a year, the church was outgrowing the Veterans Hall. The $10 a week rent was a burden, and the pastor was tired of cleaning up beer bottles before church on Sunday morning from the public dances the night before. So the church bought a lot for $11,500 at Moraga Road and Brook Street and broke ground for a new church building in March 1948. Morris Bergeson led the construction. By June, the church began holding services in the building, even though it wasn't yet finished. The cornerstone was laid in August, and by the following January, the Lafayette Mission Covenant Church building was finished at a total cost for building and land of $35,000. Over the next decade, the church saw slow but steady growth, with church members providing nearly all the work. In 1950, Pastor Nixon left. 8 months later, the Lafayette Mission Covenant Church called the president of the Covenant Bible Institute in Canada to be its pastor. Joel Peterson would serve until March 1954 and be followed by Reverend G. Raymond White, who left in February 1957. A year after that, the church called William Mays to be pastor. That's Bill Hartman on the left, welcoming the Mays family to Lafayette. Not long after that, a vision began to come into focus for a new church in a new place, a location big enough to handle the needs of a growing congregation. First, they had to find a spot. Morris Bergeson donated 7.5 acres on top of a hill in an unincorporated area southwest of Walnut Creek. By late 1959, the architect had drawn up plans and the work appeared to be ready to go forward, so the church went to the county for its building permits. But the Parkmead Homeowners Association objected, citing traffic concerns, and the county supervisors delayed their decision. It was a short time later, however, when they finally voted on the project. It was approved 3-2. That was enough to break ground in May of 1960. Soon the work was underway on the brand new Hillside Covenant Church. Church members provided much of the labor. John and Helen Engstrom came to the Lafayette Mission Covenant Church in May of 1960, with 2 children and a third on the way.
And most of the heavy work had been done. They had raised $90,000 to build this church.
It was not long after that that Paul and Esther Allen began attending the Lafayette Church.
Got involved, one of the reasons I think Bill Mays called on us so quickly is they needed all the volunteer help they could get, and very involved in painting this place and putting down tile and putting in outlets and So we worked, 3 or 4 nights a week and all day Saturday.
Almost everything in the church was done by volunteers except the, the basic construction. So that was interesting to get into that, but it was so impressive to me that a church with only 60 or fewer members was trying to do this kind of a building.
As the months went by, the new church began to take shape. By autumn, the church was nearing completion and was ready for dedication on Sunday, November 20th, 1960.
And it was a pretty small operation, probably about 90 members at the most, a budget of $35,000. The full staff was a pastor and a part-time church secretary.
The church was run by volunteers totally.
Except for the pastor.
Except for the pastor. The secretary we had was, if the pastor didn't do it, some volunteer did it.
In February of 1962, on their 11th wedding anniversary, Raleigh and Hermoine Nordine came to Hillside with their 5 children. Pastor Mays welcomed them even before they arrived.
He sent us letters over from the peninsula to welcome us before we even came here, because he knew we would be a big, 7 of us coming would be a big lift for the church.
Well, it doubled the Sunday school, we were told.
All our kids did confirmation through the church and grew spiritually, and 3 of our daughters got married here, so it's been a meaningful church to us.